To the January 7th, 2025 Georgetown ISD Board Workshop. Today, we are going to...
Is it working?
Is it on? There we go. First, we do not have any public comment this afternoon. Today, we're going to talk about strategic priority area number 4, and we're going to also have a conversation with the trustees regarding potential legislative priorities as we head into the legislative session, the 89th here in 2025. So I'm going to hand it over to Melinda Brazier to talk us through strategic priority area 4.
All righty. Hello, good afternoon, and Happy New Year. Got some updates for you on our strategic priority area number 4, community and connectivity. And I want to start with some really big projects that launched in 2024. We changed our mass communication platform to something called Parent Square, which you're probably all aware of because hopefully you're getting lots of messages from the district through that platform. It replaced School Messenger. We launched it in the summer, and it really expanded how people are using the communication platform across the district. Previously, only select people at campuses and district had access to send messages through there. Now all of our teachers, all of our coaches are using it. One of the things that was a big win is the two-way capability. So in our previous platform, we could push out text messages, but there was no way for people to respond. And we've had people at the campus level asking us for a long time, is there some way that we can do a two-way messaging? Because what we have learned is that our parents today are more likely to respond to a text message than they are to an email or a phone call. And so now with this two-way texting capability, everything's protected in the system. It looks like it's coming through as a text message on your phone. You can reply, it goes back through the system, but it protects people's contact information. So you're not actually having to share contact information for that to happen. So nurses are able to share information with parents about medication needs, and attendance notifications are going out that way. Teachers can send quick messages to parents, whether it's a whole class group or individual, about things that are going on with the individual students. So that's been a huge win for us in this platform. The other really cool thing about this too is that you as a user can choose how you want to receive the information. You can receive it via an email, via a text message, or through an app notification, and all of the users have the ability to change their settings in there. And so if you think that you're getting too many notifications, you can go in and make some adjustments and change how those are coming in. So that's been really exciting to see. There are 96% of our users opting to receive information via text right now. We have 84% opting to receive via email, and there's 35% opting to receive via app notifications. If you're a math person, you're adding that up and saying that's far more than 100%. It's because you can get the information in more than one way. And so that just kind of tells you how people are choosing to get that information. We didn't have an app before, and so I'm thrilled with a 36% rate of people choosing to receive information that way. Two other really cool points about this program. We have 100% contactability. What that means is every single parent in our school district, every single staff member is getting our information. Just like all mass communications platforms, you can opt out of receiving information, and we had a pretty high opt-out rate with the old platform. Right now, nobody is opting out. Don't anybody get any ideas? We want to keep it 100%. But we launched this in August, and it's still 100% contactability. And I think that that's pretty fantastic. Whether or not people open the message is another thing, but right now our open rate is at about 90%, which is fantastic. And keep in mind that when we're looking at that, you might be that person that sits on an email for a couple days. And so when we're looking at it, it doesn't mean that it's not getting opened eventually. But right now, on average, when we're looking at things, about 90%. If we look at the numbers in our previous system, our contactability rate was about 93% compared to the 100% that we have now. And our open rate was about 65%. So if you think about that math, we're reaching a whole lot more people in a way more significant way. They're getting the information that they need about their students, about activities, about business that's happening at Georgetown ISD. And if you want to know what that compares to like as a benchmark, on average, if you look at marketing open rates for emails, It's about 25%. Now that's all industries across the board. If you look at education open rates, it might be more like 35 to 40. So even at 65% previously, I was thrilled with that, but Parent Square is helping us stay engaged and connected a whole lot better. So I'm loving that. We also launched a new content management system for our websites. We were previously with Blackboard and we're now with Finalsite. Again, far superior product that's just more up to date, provides more features. Prior to the launch, I think we had 20 websites and about 10,000 pages across those 20 websites. Through that transition, we were able to clean up a lot of things on the website, abandon old content that didn't need to be out there anymore. We actually added websites because we have new facilities this year, so we now have 22 websites that we're operating across the district and about 6,800 pages that are being managed there. So that project also happened in the summer of 2024 in time for this school year. And as we look at some of the analytics there, we're really noticing an increase across the board in how mobile users are engaging with us. That really became true during COVID, and that continues to go upward. We know that some of our families may not have a computer in their household, but they have a phone, and that is showing as evidence through this platform. Something else that's really cool about Parent Square is how many languages it translates into. We were really working to reach our Spanish speakers more significantly before, but oftentimes we had to have somebody translate things manually. That could hold up communications till somebody was able to translate it and we were able to get it out the door. Now Parent Square does that for us. So whatever your home language is noted in Skyward is how that information lands in your inbox, your text app, or in the app notifications. And what I'm noticing is this, because of the two-way process, parents can respond. Whoever sends that message, if they have a question, they can send it back to us. And I see a lot of text communications come through that I know just from the way it's written, that English is probably not their first language, but the app is enabling them to communicate with us in a way that I'm looking at it and guessing it's not their home language, but we're still able to communicate, and we can reply right back to them in English, and it lands in their inbox in whatever their home language is. So that's a game changer. Somebody in here probably knows better than me. At one point in time, we had 34 languages represented in the district. And so if you think about that and the improbability that we're going to be able to translate every message every time manually, this is a game changer for us. So when I think about how we communicate and connect with our community, that's huge for us. Same thing with the website. Websites have always been pretty good at that. You can translate websites pretty easily. Now our mass communication platform does that as well.
I'm probably stealing a little bit of Melinda's thunder, but I just really appreciate the work of the team that works with Melinda, Logan Ruland, Edgar Ariano, Joanne Hernandez, and Donna Stanford in our CIS. The work that happens behind the scenes to stand up these platforms is a lot of time and effort, and sometimes even the superintendent comes by and says, hey, I don't like that image, can you change it? And so, there's ongoing taking in that feedback and adjusting to meet the needs of our customers, so thank you for the work you're doing.
You're welcome, and I appreciate you saying that, because what communications and technology do when it comes to a lot of these platforms, like we work together behind the scenes in ways that people don't even think about. And I always say to people, they're really the nuts and bolts. Like, you don't want us connecting all the wires behind the scenes, but we'll brand things and help design how things look and feel and what that user experience is. And Donna was really a huge part of this transition and being able to help us get our Skyward system synced in there. Because if it's in Skyward, it's in Parent Square. And if it's not in Skyward, then that's a barrier. But we've really done a good job of getting information into Skyward. Principals and others are working to make sure that parents have correct information in there and that they're getting the info. And so, really cool. Something else that I'm excited about with this platform is we never want to have a crisis moment But one of my worries in the past was how many parents do we miss when we do have a crisis, even if it's just a weather event. Sorry to bring that up this week. But just to notify people about changes to business operations. And now, knowing that we can get to 100% and the emergency contacts are receiving these messages as well. And so if we did have an event, we needed to communicate with parents that we were letting school out early or having a delayed start or something like that, the emergency contacts are going to get that as well. And if mom and dad are tied up, can't get away from work, then we've got better connectivity with those folks as well. So very excited about that. Any questions on those two projects? All right, let's go to one of our objectives is parents and community members feel welcome and invited in GISD schools. This has always been the case, but we know that COVID kind of put a hindrance on that. And when we opened schools up, it was slow sometimes to get people back in. And so we've done some work in our MVPS system. We work with a company called Relatrix. If you're registered on our system as a volunteer, you had to go into that system to get approved, tell us how you wanted to serve. But we have more than 8,000 people registered in that system right now. Now, what I'll say about those 8,000 is about 2,000 of them are employees. And then some of those people come in for a very one-time specified purpose, and other people might be coming in to serve on a weekly basis. So there's a broad range of ways that people are serving in our schools. More than 500 of them are serving one-on-one with students, and that could be as a mentor one-on-one where people are coming in and meeting with their mentees once a week. It might be through our Reading Buddies program. We have a couple hundred people who come in and meet with our elementary students and read with them on a weekly basis. And it might be tutors. And when I say 500, that's a really loose number because what I can see is what's in the system. There may be campuses that are doing some other things that aren't connected in the system in a way that we can quantify. So I think that that's a really conservative number right now. What I can tell you is when I look to see who's registered to serve in some of those capacities, we have 163 PALs from our high schools who are serving in our elementary schools as mentors. We have 329 people registered in the system as a reading buddy coming in, and each of those people is reading with at least 2 students during the week. And then we have a new program, a new group rather than program coming online this spring. Costco wanted to get involved. They have a reading program that's very similar to our existing reading program. So we're going to implement that at one campus this spring and expand the number of students that we're able to serve there by about 40. And then campus-based volunteer coordinators, there have always been people on campuses who had access to our MVPS system who could verify that volunteers were approved to serve and be able to pair them up with students for one-on-one opportunities like mentorship. But this year we expanded that. Every campus has at least one dedicated person who not only is that front-facing person in the office, but they can coordinate with other groups on campus. Let's say the band director needs 10 chaperones because there's a big band event on Friday night and he wants to engage parents. We know who those parents are in the system. That volunteer coordinator can work with the band director, send a message out, and there are mechanisms within the system to engage those volunteers and get them prepped and ready for service for special events. So the volunteer coordinators are now doing more of that work and receiving a stipend for that work so that they can stay committed to that. We host a monthly training with the volunteer coordinators in an effort to show them how to dig into the system a little bit deeper and be able to do more to engage volunteers. And knowing that we can't always get them all at the same training at the same time, we record those and push those out so that it's available to everybody. Right now, we have about 35 individuals serving as volunteer coordinators across the district and helping us with that. And then in addition, a lot of receptionists, front desk folks are working in the system, and then everybody on my team works in the system as well, so that we can help monitor and engage folks. Any question on that?
How many reading volunteers did you say you had?
We have 329 registered. What is not possible for me to see necessarily is how many they're serving with. Our system, so you, for example, could say that you wanted to serve at 3 different campuses, but you may only be serving at one. And then we don't pair up in the system who you're working with specifically. And so I know that there are some of our volunteers, if I checked with our partners, that would say that they have some volunteers that are working with 4, 6 kids because they've got the time and want to spend more time on a campus. So while I know that every reading buddy is asked to work with at least 2 students, take that number a little bit with a grain of salt.
I'll work with 2 of them.
But
I have
yeah.
a mentor impact story. I think people really need to understand how beneficial mentoring is. When I was at assistant principal over at Pickett many years ago, there was a 1st grade little girl that I spent a lot of my time with. Then I became her mentor. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and then in 7th grade she moved to Manor. She contacted me this weekend. She found me on Instagram. Yeah, and
Awesome.
we talked on the phone. She's a very successful 10th grader, and she just is insistent, she lives in Manor now, that I stay in her life.
That's
So
awesome.
mentoring is very, very powerful, and you don't have to do anything phenomenal. You just have to be there.
You just have to show up. I think the statistic is 52%, students are 52% more likely to show up to school if they know that there's somebody there for them, whether it's that teacher that checks in on them every day or a mentor. And it's part of why mentors have become a tool that we're using to engage students to improve their attendance. If counselors or principals or assistant principals are noticing that there is an attendance challenge with a kid, they may reach out to the parents about assigning them a mentor to see if that helps, because showing up matters. We have quite a few mentors in our system that come back year after year after year to work with the same students. I do think that that's really important. Our next objective, GISD staff and school board trustees establish effective relationships with parents and other key community leaders in support of students in schools. We have a lot of opportunities for our parents, staff, and community members to engage with us. And the list that you see up here, some of these groups have been meeting for a long time. Some of them are new, and I put an asterisk next to some of the committees and councils that are new this year. We have hundreds and hundreds of people who are engaged across all of these opportunities to help inform the work of the district. We are being very transparent with how we report this information as well. My team has been working on creating a new hub. If you look on the website for mentors, volunteers, partners, MVPs, our S used to only stand for support, and we've changed it to serve and support, because there's so many ways that you can sign up and engage with us to support the district with your time. And then the Ed Foundation has always been the outlet for people to support with their treasure. And so if you go to our website under community and look at our MVPS presence, you'll see a new Serve in Georgetown ISD option where you can explore what some of these groups look like if they're open for community input. The Teacher Advisory and Student Advisory Council are more internal opportunities for gathering feedback, but the others, we put out forums and ask people to sign up and say that they're interested in serving. And so now there's a place where everybody can go learn about these, learn if it's a time where we're accepting new applications, see schedules, we're posting minutes and notes from the meetings, slide decks, so that even if you're not part of those committees or councils, you can stay up to date with what's happening. And then in terms of staff and trustee membership in civic organizations, I think this group does a really good job of engaging with the community. I know since Dr. Padaville's gotten here, one of the things we said when he was hired is that he's got to be in the community, and he has definitely done that. I was very impressed with how quickly he got engaged with our community civic groups, nonprofits, city leaders, and so on. And from the staff and the trustees, we have people serving on boards with Rotary, the Chamber of Commerce, the Boys and Girls Club, Chase the Chief, A lot of others that I don't probably even have off the top of my head, the Ed Foundation, Williamson County Children's Advocacy Center, and others. And those connections are so important so that we understand what's happening in those organizations, and they understand what's happening in the school district, but as much as anything, how we can work better together. And so that connectivity is really important, and I think we'll continue to see that grow in a lot of ways. And then the holiday benevolence, I just added that up there. I forgot about it earlier when we were preparing this, but I wanted to make a note. As we think about how we connect with community and how our nonprofits and civic organizations really support our district, a lot of that work funnels through my office, and we help identify needs in schools and opportunities in the community to pair people up. And we've had some partners that have supported us at the holidays for a long time, but this was a year unlike any other. And I know that not every holiday program comes through my office. There are things that happen that we didn't know about, but some of the things that I try to do is look at where the greatest needs are in the district and make sure that when we have an organization that wants to help, that we're serving those areas of greatest need. And what often happens is some of those campuses that don't have as great a need sometimes don't receive the help because we just kind of get so far along and then there's nobody left to help there. This year we had support at 100% of our campuses. We had more organizations step up to say, how can we help your families? Some of them did it through food opportunities, through clothing opportunities. There were gift cards handed out for HEB so that families could buy holiday food and gifts. And just from what I know about, more than $60,000, whether it was food, clothing, or whatever, that I'm aware of through some of these programs impacting every single campus. And so that really was a heartwarming and a humbling thing to experience this December. And I can tell you that there were a lot of tears from our families and our principals of gratitude for how much our families care for them. And then through some of those conversations, I had some partners say to me, I know it's Christmas, but how can we do more of this throughout the year? And so we'll be having some of those conversations, and maybe it's a random day in February just because, and ways that we can engage our partners to do more. So I thought that was worth highlighting. And I know I shared some of that with y'all before, but if you know any of those organizations or you're involved in some of those organizations, please extend that gratitude to them because it runs deep.
Melinda, before you move on, there's so much good work Melinda's talking about here in priority area number 4, but I'm really proud of all those service and support opportunities. It's really important to all of us that student voice, teacher voice, and community voice is part of who we are in Georgetown, and look at all of those opportunities for people to be involved. And I just want to thank my teammates that are seated around us, because every single person in this room serves in some capacity, either leading, contributing to, or helping facilitate part of those groups.
For sure. Lindsay is definitely one of those. We appreciate her support in these areas. We've got one of those groups meeting tonight. And lastly, what are next steps? There are so many things for us to do to continue advancing this work forward. I think a lot of what we've done is evident in how many new committees and councils have been established just this year alone. And when I look back at this list, I think that's just today. But I have a feeling there will be new things that get added to that in the future. We might expand on some of those opportunities, because what I know is as we identify things that need attention, ways to engage the community, this group is ready to say, how can we do that? So we'll continue to look at ways to engage the community. We'll continue to use our communication platforms and push those to the limits to try to engage people more. I didn't mention Let's Talk, but it's another critical tool for us, for the community to be able to reach out to us. And we'll continue to utilize that tool and find ways to push how we use that to engage people. We'll continue to refine the mentor and volunteer process. I think having those volunteer coordinators has been a game changer for us. Now we just need to continue to train them and empower them to use the tools, because they know best what their campuses need. We can get people in the system, but we need the campuses to say, these are how we can engage our volunteers and put them to work in service. And so we'll continue to work on that. And then surveys are always a great resource for us to gather feedback and engage the community as well. And we'll have more of those coming in the spring semester as well. Questions?
Just thank you. Great. Expansion, a lot's been happening.
Yeah.
2024 was busy. For sure. We'll see what 2025 brings for us.
Yeah, but that's
Great job.
such a great uplifting report.
Yeah.
You know, so many times it's not necessarily here, but it's just bad news, you know. And so this is great. You know, that's a lot of great, wonderful, uplifting news to start.
Yeah.
Yeah,
None
it's
of
good
it.
stuff.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. I get to do a lot of the fun stuff a lot of the time, and so I'm grateful for that. But it's also really exciting to see the results of these projects and people's reaction to them, and just knowing that we're engaging with people in a different way. After COVID, it really made me happy that more of our Spanish speakers would pick up the phone and call us, because they learned to trust that somebody was we're going to connect them with somebody that could speak their language. But it was only as far as Spanish, and just the conversations that we're having Parent Square because of the translation opportunities alone. I mean, what's the saying? If you talk to somebody, you know, if you talk to somebody, it can go to their head or whatever, but talk to them in their language, it goes to their heart kind of thing. I'm feeling the heart from our families that finally there's a way for us to communicate that we couldn't do previously. And it's working for us, so
That's
very
great.
cool.
Yeah, so many times people put in all the hard work and they don't see the results, but that's it. So, job well done.
And then these are just a couple pictures of some engagement opportunities. We've got Backpack Buddies, didn't talk about them earlier, but they feed our students on the weekends. They drop off backpacks on the last day of the week. Kids can come pick those up, take them home, have food to serve them throughout the weekend. Our parent learning and engagement nights are growing. Our federal programs department does those, and everybody's invited in for a variety of activities and programs. We've got a student advisory council on the project, Rotary Club, Rotary is a big partner with us in a number of ways. I've lost count of how many piece of poles we have. Somebody in here probably knows, but I'm going to say it's probably at least 8 now. And so those piece of pole projects are being installed at all of our campuses, and that's from one of the opening events. And then a picture from community citizens working on helping us wrestle last spring through the idea of a bond, which passed in May. So just a few examples.
And JCCMA is already working on getting the school supplies, yeah.
Yeah.
So GCCMA took over the school supply drive a couple years ago, and I think the first year that we did that, we ran out in no time and maybe
Yeah.
served 200 students. I think this year the number was around 1,000 backpacks.
And they really want more organizations to pair with them. So we can have a one-stop shop.
That was probably one of the coolest examples of collaboration, I think, of our groups, where instead of, when people called and said, I want to do something with school supplies and I want to give back, instead of doing something on their own, we funneled them through the GCCMA project, and that's how we were able to serve so many families. There's now a community fair in line with that. It's bigger than it's ever been, and I think it's going to continue to grow. So I guess something for y'all to think about is, in addition to saying thanks to some of our partners who are doing so much for us, also think about ways that you can challenge groups and people that you know to get engaged with us, and send them our way if we can get people engaged, whether it's an individual who wants to volunteer or mentor in our schools, or a business, an organization, or a nonprofit who wants to find ways to plug in with some of these projects that we do. There's something for everybody.
Well, and I appreciate how Melinda and her team are creating the landing page for all of those groups and committees that come together. So there will be a place people can be directed to say, if you're asking, how can I get involved? There's somewhere to look, and there's even a form people can sign up with in order to say, I am interested in serving in this capacity.
I'll get you that link so that you have easy access to it.
Melinda, if if a group wants to be involved in a particular school, should they communicate with the principal, the volunteer coordinator, you, what would be
It's a good question.
beneficial?
I would say send them to me or the principal, depending on what it is, and then the volunteer coordinator really is going to take the lead probably from somebody else if it's a new program like that. Right now, the volunteer coordinators, if you're in the system, you say you want to do something, they're going to get you paired up for that opportunity. But new programmatic things we try to vet out with principals. And sometimes if the organization doesn't even know where to start, that's where I say definitely send them my way, because then I can either look at what our known needs and how we can get them connected, or reach out to principals to say, we have a partner who's interested in this, who's interested, and try to facilitate those connections.
Okay.
So we do a lot of that. Don't be afraid to send them my way.
Right.
Get them connected where they need to be. Yeah, thanks for asking.
Trustees, we're going to move forward and discuss legislative priorities. They are called legislative priorities across the school district, but in another way of